Hi grade 4s, welcome to the second video. We are continuing on comparing and ordering fractions. So this is for pages 28 and 29. All right, let's begin. Number 8. All right, it says circle the greater fraction. So 2/5 or 2/3. All right. So remember, because the numerators are the same, you are looking at the denominators. So you're looking at 5 and 3. And then you ask yourself which one is bigger. Okay? So 5 is bigger. Let's get another color. So 5 is bigger than 3. So the bigger the number, the smaller the parts are. So the smaller the fraction is. All right? So the greater, so which one is the bigger fraction? It is 2/3. Okay. All right, let's continue. So B is 3/4 or 3/5. All right, and the numerators are the same. So again, you're going to look at the denominators. So 4 and 5. So which one is bigger? 5 is bigger. So remember, the bigger the number, the more parts there are to the fraction. So the greater fraction is the other one. Okay, so it's the opposite. It's the 3/4. So you're circling 3/4. All right, try C and D yourself. All right, 9A. Write any number in the blank that makes the relationship correct. So we have 3/5 is greater than something over 8. Okay, so you can see that 8 is the bigger number out of the two denominators. So this fraction is going to be less than 3/5. Okay, and so you can choose anything, any number you want to go on top of here that is less than 8. So for example, I can choose, I'm going to choose 2. Okay, so you can do any number that is less than 8. All right, let's do one more together. B, something over 15 is greater than 14 over 29. So again, you can see that these two denominators, out of these two denominators, the 29 is bigger. So 29 is going to be the smaller fraction. Okay? So again, you can choose any number that is less than 15. Okay? So if you want, you can choose the same numerator. So you can do 14 and 14. All right? And that should get you started. And so you're going to do C and D yourself. Okay, number 10. Two fractions have the same numerator but different denominators. How can you tell which fraction is greater? So if the two fractions have the same numerator, what are you looking at? You are looking at the denominators again, right? And remember, if the denominator is larger, that means it is the smaller fraction, okay? All right, so you should be able to write number 10 yourself in a complete sentence. And number 11A, order the fractions from least to greatest by matching each fraction to the strip it represents and then shading it. All right, so you can count the parts. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there are 10 parts. So that means this strip is 1/10. Okay. So for 10A, 1, you're going to write 1/10 first. Okay. Then you're going to shade in one box. Next one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 parts, so find the one with the 5 as the denominator, and it's 1/5. So you're going to do 1/5. And the next one is a quarter, it's already done for you. Okay, and how many parts are here? 1, 2, 3, so it's 1/3. I'll write a quarter first. Okay, 1/3, and the last one, we have 2 parts, so it's a half, 1/2. Okay, so make sure you write the fractions in order from least to greatest and shade in each square. Okay, all right, you're gonna do 2 yourself. B, order the fractions from least to greatest by considering the numerators and denominators. Okay, so B1. All the numerators are the same, so you don't have to do anything there. So you're going to look at just the denominator, okay, and we're going to start with the largest number. So remember, the largest number means it is the smallest fraction, right? So we're going to start with 1/10. Okay, what's the next biggest number? 5. So 1/5. So next one, a quarter, then a third, and then a half. And you can see that A and B are exactly the same, but it's 2 different ways. It's showing you 2 different ways to figure out which is the smallest fraction to the greatest or the biggest fraction, okay? So one way you can do it is drawing it out and shading it, or you can just look at the denominator, and whichever one's the biggest number, it is the smallest fraction, and then you start from there, okay? So C, are your answers for part A and B the same? I just told you, so you can see they are the same. But now you need to explain to me why they are the same, okay? All right, so that's the end of page 28. We're gonna move on to page 29. All right, just give me a second. I'm gonna need to erase this. Okay, so page 29. Randy says half of a pie is less than a tenth of a pie. Is she correct? Explain. Okay, so let's do this together. So remember, the numerators are the same. So we have a half and a tenth. The numerators are the same, but the denominators are different. And remember, if the denominator is the bigger one, it is the smaller fraction. Okay? So what you're going to write is you can say Randy is incorrect because 1/10 is smaller than a half. Yeah, you can just write that. Right. 13. Ray, Hannah, and Lynn each brought 1 cake to school for their year-end class party. None of the cakes are the same size. The teacher cut each cake into 8 equal pieces, so everyone in the class can have a piece. Ray says, "That's not fair at all." And Lynn says, "That's perfectly fair." So A asks you, why does Ray think it's unfair? So Ray thinks it's unfair because a smaller cake means a smaller piece. And so you don't know how big every cake actually is, and it already says none of the cakes are the same size. So if you get a smaller cake, you clearly get a smaller piece, and if you get a larger cake, you get a larger piece. Okay, so that's why he thinks it's unfair. B, why does Lynn think it's fair? So Lynn thinks it's fair because all of the cakes will be split. Oops. Oops, sorry. Will be split into the same number of pieces. So she thinks because everyone gets 8 pieces, then that is fair to her. Okay? And that's what you need to write. Okay. Number 14A. Write the fractions in the correct category. Okay, so there's one category that's 0 to a half, and then one category that's a half to 1. And the first one's done for you, so 3/4 is here, so they cross it out. So make sure you cross out as you go so that you know you've got them all. All right, I'm going to erase, and then we can do a few together so that you know what to do. I wish there was a clear button that just erased it all, instead of me having to erase all the parts. Okay, let's go. 0 to a half, and then a half to 1, and I'm going to use red so you can see the answers. So 3/4 is already done. All right, now we have a third. So what we're going to do is we're going to compare 1/3 to a half. So you can use scrap paper if you want. It might be easier. So you're going to compare 1/3. We're looking at this number. We're going to go across. Okay, so I'll do the first row with you. 1/3, and we're going to look at a half because that's what we're comparing it to. So remember, the bigger the denominator, the smaller the fraction. Okay, so is a third less than a half? Yes, because it has the bigger denominator. So you are going to write a third here. Okay, and then cross it out. Okay, next, 2/5. So let's go 2/5, and then let's compare it to a half. Okay, so 2/5 to a half. Which one is the bigger denominator? 5. So again, it is the smaller fraction, so it's less than a half. We're going to write it here. Okay, cross that out. 4/6. Let's compare 4/6 to a half. 6, again, is the bigger number, so we are going to write, oh, actually, sorry, I just realized I did something wrong. So let's go back to this. Okay, so what I was just telling you is correct if and only if the numerator is the same. Okay, so 1/3 is correct. Okay, we're going to look back at 2/5. 2/5 and a half. So 2/5 and a half do not have the same numerator or denominator. So we can't actually compare it like this. Okay, so what I want you to do is, let's see if we can draw it. Okay, so we split a pie into 5 parts for this one, and then we split a pie into 2 parts for the half. All right, so you're gonna shade in 1 part to make it half and 2 parts here. Okay, so is 2/5 bigger than a half or less than? Clearly it is less than, so we're going to write 2/5 here. Okay, now we're going to compare 4/6 to a half. So automatically we know a half of a pie just looks like this. Okay, and then 6, we need to divide it into 6 parts. Okay, and we have 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there are more parts shaded in 4/6 than a half. So we're going to write 4/6 here. Okay, because this column is a half to 1. So if anything is bigger than a half, you're going to write it in this column. If anything is less than a half, you're going to write it in this. Okay? All right. So I would recommend you draw it out using a scrap piece of paper or in your math notebook. And then continue on for the second row and the third row. Okay? And remember to cross out the fractions as you go so you don't miss any. All right, well, let's look at 14b. Okay, let me erase this again. Okay, so this was 14a, 14b. Use the results from part A, write less than or greater than in the box between the pair of fractions. So remember, this is less than, and this is greater. Okay. Okay, so we have 6/10 and 3/7. Okay, so you're gonna look at your column, your table from 14a, and you're gonna find where 6/10 and 3/7 are. So I'm gonna write it here for you. So 6/10, you should actually have it in this column, and 3/7 you should have it in this column. So which one is bigger? You know this is the bigger column, okay? This is the bigger column, and this is the smaller one, okay? So 6/10 is in the bigger column, so that means it is greater than 3/7. So you're going to write it like that, okay? All right, let's do the second one together. So we have 1/3 and we have 3/4. Okay, so 1/3 is here and 3/4 is here. So this is the bigger one, so we're going to write 1/3 is less than 3/4. Okay? All right. You're in charge of doing the rest. Good luck. And if you need any help, you can find me on Teams.